guys, this is Rick at Tasty Guitar. Well, most of us have some kind of guilty pleasure, right? Maybe something you don't want to share that you actually like. Maybe you like to watch The Bachelor, or you like to go line dancing or whatever. For me, I like to play disco music, and I'll tell you why. Disco did not suck. There was a lot of great guitar parts in disco music, and today I'm going to show you 5 examples of this. Another thing I want to mention here is the way that I learned to play guitar was primarily learning songs. You know, really probably for the first 10 years of my playing, I practiced religiously, hours and hours and hours a day. But after that, it's mostly just been learning through material, through songs, and getting what information I could learn from those songs. Every tune that you learn, you can usually pick something out of it that will help you as a player. So as I break these parts down, I'll try to explain to you what I think you should take away from each one of them. Be sure to come by TastyGuitar.com, get the free tab for this lesson by subscribing on the bottom of the homepage. Check out membership at Tasty Guitar in the description below, and also please support me on Patreon. I would really appreciate that. Tune up and let's get started. All right, guys, Got to Be Real by Sherilyn, a fantastic tune. The underlying chord changes here are basically an E flat major 7, or you can play a major 9 if you want, a D7 altered chord, basically a D7 sharp 9 or flat 9, moving to a G minor chord. Those are the underlying changes. But what we're doing here is playing basically just 2 notes out of that E flat major 7 chord there, the B flat together with the D. I'm playing that with my 3rd and 4th finger right there, starting on the and a beat 1, playing 16th notes. 1. Hitting that 4 times there. 1. You're then going to go down to the 2nd and 1st fret, the A note there together with the C note. 1. You're then going to slide up to the 4th and 5th fret, right there. 1. 1. You're going to go back down to that 1st and 2nd fret. 1. In the 2nd measure, you're going to start exactly the same way. 1. That's now part of that G minor chord right there. Down to the 1st fret again. 1. Back. Ending back down there on the 1st and 2nd fret. So the entire rhythm is this. 1. 1. Again, real slow. 1. 1. So what can you take away from this? I'm always looking at what I can take away from a part that I learn. Well, first, this is the G natural minor scale just harmonized in thirds. All of these little intervals here. So if you don't know that already, definitely study and learn the harmonization of every scale. Now, another thing that you can learn from this is noticing how much space there is. You know, he probably could have played 16th note dead strokes everywhere. But it's just not necessary because with that space, it just sounds cleaner. 1. So don't be afraid to leave space in your grooves. Alright guys, Boogie, Oogie, Oogie by A Taste of Honey, a great tune, a lot of fun to play. This is in D minor, basically starting right down here at the C note at the 5th fret on the G string. 1. That's the first measure here. Let's do it again real slow. 1. Second measure. Almost exactly the same as the first measure, you're just adding a couple dead notes at the very beginning. So here's the first 2 measures together. 1. Again, 1. In the third measure, you're going to go up to this B flat chord here at the 13th and 15th fret. Basically, it's B flat over C. The bass goes to C, and you're going to hit this 16th note strums on the and of beat 1. 1. And then again on downbeat of 2. 1 and a 2. Do that for the last two measures. 1 and a 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4. So here's the entire figure all together. 1. 3, 4, 1. Let's do it again. 4, 1. 1, 3, 4, 1. So what can you take from this? Well, first of all, I think that for most people, in order to keep up with this picking part at this tempo, you need to keep a very small motion with your right hand. If you're having too wide of a motion, you're going to hit adjacent strings and it's going to sound really sloppy. So keep a very tight, small 16th note picking motion. The next thing that you should take away from this is when you transition from a picking part like this to a strumming part, try to keep the right hand in motion so that you keep that locked on the downbeat on the down strum. That's going to keep you pocket and in solid time. So watch the right hand as I transition from this picking part into the chord. Notice how I kept that right hand in motion and just hit air until I arrived at the chord. That kept me on my downstroke on the downbeat. Very important skill to master.
Please don't talk about love tonight. Your sweet talk won't make it right. Love and lies just bring me down. When you got women all over town.
Alright guys, I Love the Nightlife. Now even though this is a classic disco song, there was some really cool R&B fills going on in this tune. Alright, now this is in the key of C and I just took out an 8-bar section of the second verse. Okay, so in the first measure here, it's just basically a C chord. I'm playing, you know, the top part of that C bar chord there, just getting rid of the root on the and of beat 3. 1, 2, 3, and. Just hit a down strum. 1, 2, 3, and. And the second measure here was still on the C chord, and on the and of beat 2, you're sliding up to this interval of a sixth, and that's basically just the top part of that C chord there. 1, 2, right there, sliding into that bottom note, hitting the top note. Then you're going to go down to this interval of a sixth, and that's just out of that C chord. 1, 2. Sliding out of that C note on the high E string. Now the thing you want to take away from this is that staccato note there at the 12th fret on the high E string. This is a very common sound in R&B. Cutting that off very quickly there. 1, 2. In the third measure, the harmony moves to a C major 7 chord, but the guitar is pretty much laying out. The fourth measure, it moves to a C dominant 7 chord, and it's kind of an R&B fill right there, right on beat 1 of that fourth measure. Just that hammer from the D to the E note, the third of C, and then playing that interval out of the C chord. 1. Then doing another very typical R&B thing, hammering on to the A note, and then going back to what's in the chord. Just getting a little bit of color with that A note there, going back to win the chord. Okay, so this is. The next thing here is pretty tricky. You're actually going up to this interval here, the C and the E note, the root and third of a C chord, sliding that down to this shape right down there at the second and first fret. So you have, and then hitting a high E string, either open or at the 5th fret on the B string. So what you have is this. All right, the next two measures, the harmony moves to F major 7 and is playing intervals of fourths up on the B and high E string. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll notice how staccato that is on the final one of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cutting those off. And then it's going to this interval right there, which is just the top of an F chord. Hitting that twice. And then going to hit the fuller chord there, the F chord. Slide out of that, ending then on F minor, the top of an F minor chord, where the harmony is going to in the next measure. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's the entire thing slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, Best of My Love by The Emotions, another really great song, and this is an excellent example of such a simple part that kind of just lays way back in the mix, but just makes such a nice contribution to the groove. All right, we're starting this by sliding up to the 5th fret there, the C note on the G string from the 1st fret on beat 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there. When you arrive at that note, you're going to hit it 3 times staccato. Then go up an octave, and these are 8th notes, so that's 1 and 2 and, right? 1 and 2. Again, cut those off. On the and of beat 3, you're going to hit it again, hold it over to the and of beat 4, and then hit again. So here is the first two measures. 2, 3, and then you're just going to repeat that without that slide. Keep going. And you arrive at the last measure. Here's you're going to change it up a little bit. That's the same. And then you're going to go up to the 8th fret on that G string. Hit that twice, slide it down. Down to the 5th fret, to the 7th, ending back on your C note. So the last measure here is. So here's the entire figure. 1, 2, 3. Pick it up a little bit. 2, 3. So another excellent example of how such a simple part can help make the groove. All right, Ain't No Stopping Us Now by McFadden Whitehead, another great tune. This is an excellent example of how to use chord fragments that are close together. Okay, so we're starting on this B flat minor 7 shape right here. The 6th and 4th fret, that's your flat 3rd, your 5th, and your flat 7 up there at the top. And okay, you're going to keep your hand moving in 16th note motion throughout. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is the rhythm on the first measure. 2, 3, 4. Second measure, you're going to move down to a C minor chord here, just the top 3 strings of that C minor bar chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the rhythm on the C minor. Then moving to the F minor chord there, just the top of this shape. You're going to hit that on beats 3 and 4 and let those ring out. So here is the entire rhythm very slowly. 2, 3, 4. So whenever possible here, you want to find the closest voicing to wherever you are. So, you know, I probably could have played the B flat minor like this, but that doesn't really sound as nice as using that B flat minor 7 from here, which leads you very nicely down to that C minor. And also, I'm not going to kind of move up to a C minor here unless I want to go to the F minor there. All right, so you're going to kind of try to find the nearest voicings of the chords which you're leading to. So this B flat minor 7 moves perfect to that C minor, which in turn moves perfect to that F minor.